It's the kind of coin that slips through your hands 100 times and never gets a second glance. The 1979 D. Roosevelt dime. Just a 10-cent piece from time most people have forgotten. It clinks around in pockets, vanishes in car cup holders, gets buried in change jars for decades. But what if one of those small, forgotten dimes wasn't worth 10 cents at all? What if it was worth $14,000, or even more, up to $187,000? What if the most valuable thing in your house was smaller than a bottle cap and hiding in plain sight? The Denver Mint, in 1979, was operating at full tilt. That year alone, it struck more than 390 million Roosevelt dimes. That volume alone might lead you to believe these coins are anything but rare. But as history has taught us, it isn't the quantity that defines value. It's the anomaly. It's the unintentional. It's the survivor. In the world of numismatics, the 1979 D-dime has become one of the most surprising stories of overlooked treasure. When the Roosevelt dime series was introduced in 1946, its design was a tribute to the late President Franklin D. Roosevelt, honoring both his legacy and his fight against polio. The design remained largely unchanged over the decades, but within those years, certain dates and mint marks developed reputations. And for the 1979 D, that reputation came not from commemorative celebration, but from the perfect storm of high mintage, machine fatigue, and unpredictable mint errors. One of the most sought-after features in 1979 D. Roosevelt dimes is a strong die strike with full bands on the reverse torch. These horizontal bands, if struck with perfect clarity and separation, dramatically increase a coin's value. A dime with weakly struck bands is common, but a 1979 D with crisp, uninterrupted full bands? That's where the chase begins. In 2021, one such coin, graded MS-68 with flawless full bands, sent shockwaves through an online auction, closing at a staggering $37,200. The coin was immaculate. The luster beamed like it had just rolled off the press, untouched by circulation, and the market responded with pure excitement. Then came the errors, the beautiful accidents that can turn an everyday coin into a numismatic legend. The 1979 D. Roosevelt dime is known for a handful of wild, rare mistakes. One of the most famous is the off-metal strike, a dime struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or another denomination. In 2018, a collector unearthed a 1979 D dime struck on a copper-nickel quarter planchet. The coin was oversized, strangely colored, and heavier than it should have been. Graded and authenticated, it fetched $62,000 in auction. Just one wrong planchet, one tiny accident, one giant payday. Another standout is the off-center strike error. When a coin isn't properly aligned in the press, part of the design gets cut off or shifted dramatically. A 1979 D dime with a 50% off-center strike, preserving the full date and mint mark, once sold for $19,000. And that wasn't even a top-grade specimen. The more dramatic the error, and the more perfect the condition, the higher the price climbs. There are Broadstruck errors too, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to expand beyond its normal dimensions. A 1979 D Broadstruck dime in MS-67 sold for $14,600 at auction, its edge warped and ghostly, but its surface pristine. To error collectors, this wasn't damage. It was art, an industrial accident frozen in time. But even without errors, certain 1979 D dimes have shocked the market purely based on their condition. Most dimes from this era were poorly handled after striking. They were thrown into bulk bags, banged around, and quickly put into circulation. That's why coins in MS-68 or higher, especially those with strong strikes and full luster, are exceedingly rare. When one was discovered in a sealed roll from a long-forgotten bank box and graded MS-68 plus FB by PCGS, collectors knew it would shatter expectations. The final price? $187,000. The bidder later revealed the coin had sat undisturbed since 1979, minted, sealed, and left untouched for over 4 decades until someone looked closer. And this is where the emotional power of coin collecting takes hold. Because it's not just about the metal. It's about the journey. About a 10-cent piece that defies probability, outlives decades, escapes damage, and reemerges with the power to change someone's life. It's about rediscovery. about the thrill of finding something that millions overlooked. Even moderately rare 1979 D dimes, those with light doubling on the obverse, repunched mint marks, or minor misalignments, have been known to sell between $1,000 and $5,000 depending on eye appeal and grade. These are coins that require patience to find, but reward the careful observer. What should collectors and casual hunters look for? First, examine the torch. Are the horizontal bands on the torch's center completely separated in bold? That's your first clue. Then, scan for any doubling, especially in the words liberty or in God we trust. Check the edge of the coin. Does the rim look too thick? Too thin? Does the coin appear oddly shaped or slightly off-center? Each of these signs could point to a major minting error and possibly a major payday. Always remember, cleaning a coin can destroy its value. It's the untouched surfaces, the original luster, the accidental preservation that sends coins soaring at auction. And while hundreds of millions of 1979 D dimes were minted, very few remain in elite condition. Even fewer carry the kinds of minting errors that transform change into treasure. The Roosevelt dime may not have the size of a dollar or the mystique of a rare gold piece. But sometimes, the smallest coins tell the biggest stories. A 1979 D dime might seem like just another piece of metal. But in the right light, in the right hands, and in the right condition, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes a symbol of overlooked value, a fragment of history reborn, a tiny reminder that anything, no matter how small, can carry greatness. And if you're lucky, the next time you hear the faint jingle of coins in your hand, you'll pause. And you'll check that dime, because one of them just might be worth $187,000, and it could be sitting in your change right now. What if I told you that this little dime, the one you might have tossed into a vending machine without a second thought, could be worth over $194,000? That's right, a coin no bigger than your fingertip, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right collector to uncover its staggering secret. This is the 1996 D Roosevelt dime, a coin that looks just like any other until you look closer. Because a rare few of these dimes were struck with catastrophic errors, turning them from pocket change into some of the most valuable modern coins in existence. How do you know if your 1996 D dime is one of these fortune makers? And why are collectors willing to pay $15,000, $50,000, even $194,000 for the right one? Buckle up, because we're diving into one of the most thrilling coin mysteries of the last 30 years. First, let's set the stage. The Denver Mint struck over 1.5 billion dimes in 1996, most worth exactly 10 cents. But a tiny fraction, due to a horrifying minting mistake, became instant legends. You see coin dies, the molds that stamp the design on a blanks, are supposed to be flawless. But in 1996, a few dimes were struck with cracks, misaligned layers, or missing elements. Errors so severe, they created one-of-a-kind anomalies. And collectors? They lose their minds over these. Now, here's where it gets wild. The most valuable 1996 D dimes fall into three nightmare-inducing error categories. The broken die error. Cracks in the die caused jagged, distorted lettering, especially around Liberty and the date. One example sold for $15,000 at auction, the off-center strike. A misaligned press smashed the design partly off the coin. The more extreme the misalignment, the higher the value. A 70% off-center dime? $50,000 plus. But the holy grail? The missing clad layer error. A dime missing its outer nickel coating, leaving it too thin, too light, and visually warped. And one of these? Sold for $194,000. Imagine holding a dime that looks wrong. The edges uneven. The weight off. The portrait of Roosevelt slightly ghostly. That's what collectors dream of finding in their spare change. Because these errors weren't caught by the mint. They slipped into circulation, hiding in coin rolls, cash registers, even childhood piggy banks. So how do you spot one? First, weigh it. A normal dime equals 2.27 grams. A missing clad error? As low as 1.8 grams. Next, check the rims. Errors often have uneven edges. And finally, magnify the details. Look for cracks, doubling, or a weak strike where details fade. But here's the kicker. Most people who own one never knew. They spent it, lost it, melted it down, which means the few survivors. Their time bombs of value. Don't believe me? Let's talk real sales. A 1996 D off-center dime, 40% misstrike, sold for $23,000. A broken die error with visible cracks fetched $15, 600. And the king of them all, a missing clad layer dime. Hammered for $194,000 at a heritage auction. That's more than a Lamborghini. 4. A dime. And that's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just metal, it's history, a mistake, a story, a treasure hiding in the one place no one thinks to look at. Well, next time you get a dime in your change, look closer. Because you might just be holding a six-figure jackpot. And the thrill of the hunt? That's priceless. Happy hunting, collectors. And as always, keep those eyes sharp.